episode of Ebony Ladies in the DR. This is Bridget, your host. Today, you guys, I have a very special guest. I told you all that there were a lot of Ebony Ladies living in the Dominican Republic. So now we have a new Ebony Lady joining us.
My name is Kelly.
Okay, this is Kelly, and Kelly's going to give us a little bit of information. We're going to pick her brain because she moved here as a single mother, so we have a lot of questions for viewers that everybody asked us, how was the move with children, and the four of us, no one had children. Okay. So we had to just do some research, and then we did a segment, half children, half pets.
Oh,
the
yeah.
best we could do.
Right.
But today we have somebody firsthand. Kelly's going to share some information with us, and we're just going to dig right in. Tell us how long you've been in the Dominican Republic and where you're originally from.
Okay. So I've been living here for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in February 2020.
Okay.
But we did live here before that. We tested it out a little bit. We came in 2016 for the summer, and I was a professor at a university in Santiago for the summer, and that's when I decided, okay, I think I could do this after visiting a few parts of the country. Oh, that's right. I'm from California.
Oh,
I'm a Cali girl.
Cali girl.
Can't you tell? Right.
Can't you tell? California written all over you.
Yeah.
Definitely good.
Yeah.
So did you try out other islands, or because you were in Santiago, Dominican Republic?
People ask me that a lot. They're like, how did you choose the DR? And I tend to say that the DR just kind of chose us, right? Because this is just the door that opened. I always knew that I wanted to live internationally and raise a child internationally and just be able to expose my child to the world and have those kinds of experiences. And I got to a point in my life when I felt like, okay, I was ready to do it. Everything was kind of lined up. And I began to do some research. I was really looking at Cuba.
Really?
This is when Obama was in office, and so Cuba had really opened up quite a bit. And I thought that would be nice, but I've been to Cuba a few times, and it's really tough in Cuba. The infrastructure's not there. There's no internet. Basically there's no real internet, and it's just too rough. So, but in doing my research, I stumbled upon an organization that offered teach abroad programs around the world. They do study abroad, but also teach abroad. And I thought, well, I could. I'm not an official educator, but I've taught some.
Right.
And I had, the requisites that they wanted, and but my son at the time was 5 years old, so still pretty young.
Yeah. And
I didn't want to go teach for a year in China or for too long. So the only program they had that was for a summer was here in the DR. I thought,
so it worked out.
Yeah, who doesn't want to spend a summer in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
And that's how it happened.
That is awesome.
That's how it happened.
That you said that about Cuba, people think that we are just straight third world country. We down here roughing it.
Can we show them around?
We are not roughing it. So that people have that misconception because they just immediately think third world. In your opinion, define third world.
I think the third world lacks a lot of opportunity. The infrastructure, for sure. There's a lot. Often it's people are struggling to get some of the basic needs met.
Right.
People I think define it differently in some ways.
Okay.
What I will say is this, that there are absolutely parts of the country, and even parts of certain neighborhoods, where you see people living, with the corrugated metal houses. And it's really difficult. But they're also very educated Dominicans. They're absolutely rich Dominicans. There's a Bentley dealership in Santo Domingo in the capital. We passed a Mercedes dealership coming here today.
A couple of my neighbors got new Maseratis around the corner.
Yeah, there's shopping malls. Santo Domingo is a big city with skyscrapers and millions of people. Way too much traffic, So it depends upon where you are and what kind of experience you want to have.
That's it. That's what we explain to everybody. So you are in Las Terenas.
Yes.
So tell everybody about your city, because we've been sharing with them about Punta Cana.
Okay.
So tell them about Las Terenas, the makeup.
So Las Terenas, first of all, is located on the eastern side of the island on a peninsula called Samaná. And brief little history about Samaná is that when there were some slaves coming from Philadelphia, way back when, obviously, and one of those slave ships had a lot of people who ended up in Samaná. I want to say this ship sank or something, and so people came there, and a lot of those black people, of course, were speaking English. So not so much anymore because it's been so long and the generations have changed, but initially there was a huge English-speaking sort of colony or, congregation of people, So Las Terenas is part of that Samaná Peninsula, but it was not associated with the English-speaking people. It was, not so long ago, a pretty sleepy little fishing village. Just beautiful, unspoiled.
And now?
Well, so there have been people who've come from Europe. There's some Jewish people who were, fleeing persecution back in the 20s and 30s. And it's heavily populated now by Europeans, by Canadians, Italians.
Right?
Yep, definitely. Some southern. Actually, there's like 30 nationalities there now.
Wow.
Not that many Americans, although more Americans are starting to come. Definitely not that many Black Americans. Just a handful of us there.
Right.
So it's definitely a mix of people, which is one of the things I like about it, coming from the Bay Area and California.
Right, that's what you're used to. Diversity.
Yeah, but it's a small town. It's not a tiny, tiny town, but it's the kind of thing where if you go out and go grocery shopping one day or just go into a restaurant, you're probably going to run into someone that you know.
Right. Just
yeah.
like Punta Cana.
Yeah.
And it's a good island feel. You know, you get to know people.
Yeah.
And to me, you feel safer because they know they're gonna see you all the time.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's not so many random people all the time. It's just
no,
tourists.
it's a tourist destination, but for example, there's no chain restaurants there. Everything's very mom and pop. There's a very strong influence of Dominican people there, of Haitian people, of like the local population, which I like a lot because that's kind of what we're here for, is to feel that connection to them.
Right.
Yeah, you know, you can go to what they call the fish market, which is a place on the beach where the fishermen come every morning with their big coolers, and you can choose snapper or lobster or whatever. You know, so I like it. It's just big enough, but not too big, and it's not so small that I feel like I'm going crazy. You know, there are amenities there. You can get a facial, you can get your toes done, and you can
pedicure,
have a nice dinner. Yeah, or you can just really kind of rough it a little bit more and relax. So
yeah,
it's good for us.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just whatever your budget and how you want to live and what you're willing to. Now, I'm not gonna say sacrifice because we don't really sacrifice anything. It's just what you're willing to change.
Yeah.
So that's it. Just what you're willing to change.
Yeah.
Now, you're not retirement. U.S. American retirement age is changing every day.
It is.
So we're not 62. So, you know, people first thing they look at you and say, oh, you're retired, or, you know, how did you do this? So what do you do every day that you're here?
So I'm a lawyer,
Okay.
and I work in primarily entertainment law. I'm a transactional lawyer, which means I just do contracts all the time.
Right.
So I have my laptop, and I usually just work from home,
You can work from
on my
anywhere.
bed, on my patio, wherever. And I work with clients from the States primarily.
Okay.
I also teach English to some businesses in Las Terenas.
Okay.
Which is nice because, and that's not the big money maker.
Right.
But I like it because
Something
I get
you
to,
do.
and I get to meet people in the community, build nice relationships, you know, help some people.
Yeah.
And so that's primarily what I do.
Okay, now y'all have to notice the smile, right? Because it's like everybody, every time that people say, they look at us and it's like, y'all are so happy, like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's just like a good feeling when you know you've made the right decision. We're in shorts and it's warm outside.
Yes, it's very comfortable. Gentle breeze blowing, it's nice.
You can't beat it. So if you're thinking about moving abroad, you know, the DR is the place, but we can help you, make decisions and just kind of narrow down the list. So going back, one of our viewers wanted to know about the process with a child.
Okay.
You know, and you moved here as a single mom. So my question is, because they ask, did you have to do a lot of legal things to be able to bring your son without the other parent?
Right. So the short answer is no, not really.
Okay.
But that is because before I came here, so I was beginning to prepare sort of mentally and thinking of, okay, what do I need to do? And I have full custody. I went through the process of obtaining full custody, which was not a difficult process in my case. I didn't have a lot of resistance. I did bring all the legal paperwork just in case anybody at the airport were to ask me any questions. You know, international child abduction is a big deal.
Right, yes.
And also initially, my son had his father's last name.
Okay.
But I made a personal decision to change his last name. I did because I wanted our passports to match.
Right.
I thought it would be much less likely to be an issue if everything was just easy, and in case anybody asked me, in case anybody asked me, I had the documents that said full custody, physical and legal custody. Right. Yeah, the paperwork with the name change. I just had all of that.
You did everything.
I did. Yeah.
You said you all came in 2016, but he was pretty young. So then when you finally made the move here, how old was your son?
He was 8.
He was 8.
Yeah.
And so what's that? second grade,
Yep,
third grade?
we did like the
second
middle of
grade?
second grade. Actually, we came in February.
You came in the middle of the school
We
year.
did.
And so, how was it? What was his feelings and his emotions?
Well, like any child, probably there's a little bit of apprehension, but because we had been here that summer before. Not immediately, but we had been before. He knew, and so I was able to talk to him about. Remember, we went to this place and that place, and some of the fun things we did. He had been to camp here that summer. When I taught at the university, he came to teach it. Well, he came to sit in on my classes. So even though we didn't move to that same town, he knew, and we had spent 5 days in Las Terenas at the end of that summer. So there was a certain familiarity, and we had been talking about it. I would recommend to parents, if you think about, if you're thinking about moving, whether it's to the Dominican Republic or any place. Begin to talk to your children about that process. Look up resources online. Find pictures of the places. Show them. Look up things like dance classes. And if there's language classes that you're going to want to have for your kids, whatever it is, look up schools. Just, start to share that with them. We also did kind of a closure process at his school in California where I got a poster board and made copies of photos that we'd taken here and pictures of things that kids did here, baseball and different fruits that they eat, and put it together for those kids in his classroom to see, but also for him to be able to talk about it and kind of do an exit, because it's important for kids to have a certain closure.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I also made it really clear that we're not leaving your friends. You're not going to never see these people again. We're just gaining a bigger circle of people to include in our world, and I think that helped a lot.
And I've met him. He seems amazing and adjusted and happy.
Yeah.
And so he is you said he goes to international school.
He does, yeah.
Okay, so now tell the viewers that are thinking of moving here, is that very expensive? Because they're all budgeting.
For the U.S., no. I can tell you exactly. So I pay about $300 a month for his tuition here.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, for Las Terenas, that's considered expensive because the average, certainly Dominican family is not paying that much money. But for most expats, well, I don't say most, but for those expats who are willing to pay for private school, it's affordable.
Right.
I can tell you, what we paid at home was... His school was 5 figures.
I can imagine.
Insane.
Right.
It's a salary. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, okay, great. I'm happy to pay $300.
Right.
And he's getting a really fine education. It's different from what we got at home, but that's also part of the process. Is that it's not going. Listen, if you want sameness,
right, you stay in America.
That's not why you come. You come and learning happens.
That's what we're trying to get.
Yeah.
Why did you come here and look for all the same things?
You got to manage your expectations. Be willing to step outside of things. Engage with people that you might not talk to, who look different from you, who speak different languages, try new foods, enter into new communities. There's a safety here. Yeah. Obviously you're not going to do things like you do, and you're not going to count your money at the ATM at nighttime. You're going to just be
You don't do that
wise.
in the U.S.
Right.
You don't do that here. Now, have you experienced any racism here? That was a big question that people I don't know. It's an American thing. We always want to make something racial.
Well,
Have you?
So I think I had that on me when I came, like that sort of filter. So for example, when I would walk into certain stores and I noticed someone looking at me, I'd feel like, oh, in my mind, she's checking me out because I'm black, or they think this and that. And at a certain point, I was like, Kelly, that's you tripping. That's that American stuff that's been in your brain for so long.
My husband the same way.
And I realized how much we carry around, and the weight, like physical weight, and just the mental strain of that, and eventually it just kind of leaves you. And what I really notice here is that people just deal with you for who you are as a human being.
That is it.
Light, dark, tall, short, black, brown, white, blue. It's just, you're a person.
It's just it. You have to leave that in America.
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to leave that. It's a process because we're so used to, we've been having it, most of us, for decades and lifetimes, about this is just what we've been accustomed to, how we've been programmed. It is absolutely a programming that happens in the United States. And when you step out of that, and it's different from being on vacation, like, well, I went there and I didn't notice that. But when you're here and you start to sink into the culture and the flow, you will notice things start to change and how you operate. Any one of us could be Dominican.
Either one of us.
Yeah, I mean, I will say there is colorism. Dominicans have the same programming in some ways
yes.
that all the rest of us have, but they also recognize that, you know, while I might, and I'm not that light, but, you know, maybe there's some Dominicans who look like European. Then there are others who are like me, like you. There's others who are black, or they'll be like white, but their grandmother's black.
Right.
Black. You know, so it's just like not a big deal. Not a big deal. And I say this about my son, too. One of the reasons I really wanted to leave the U.S. aside from just wanting to do something different was that he was beginning at 6 to talk about, why are they shooting black boys, Mommy? You know,
you don't want to have that conversation with a 6-year-old.
No, I mean, you don't ever really want to have it.
Right.
And I knew, you know, so we talked about it a little bit, but I was like, I just want him to be free. I want him to like climb a tree and throw a ball and just be a kid, you know? And it was like, well, is Trump going to build a wall? And I thought, oh, come on.
Right.
You know? And so now,
that's when it's time to go.
Now it's like I slice up the mango. He has that. He's playing baseball with Dominican kids.
Yeah, that.
You know?
Just better.
And I agree. Yeah. After about, I'd say maybe like 6 months, he stopped kind of asking, so when are we going to, and how much longer? And I said, just trust me, just easy. And so now, like you said, he's blending.
I mean, because he's so intelligent. And so if anybody think their kids can't get a great education here, think again. The schools are here. You know, if you want to put them in private school, it's definitely affordable.
Oh, yeah.
Just think about all the money that you're going to be saving by living here. The cost of living is so much cheaper.
Yep.
Now, I know you're probably getting all the same questions that I was getting as an American, Black American woman moving to the Dominican Republic, because you have a YouTube channel.
My channel is called Free Island Girl, just like it sounds, Free Island Girl. And I started the channel on the recommendation of a friend from home who said, you know, you should really document this, what you're about to do. You know, you, a single mom's about to move to another country with your child, and I was like, why would anybody care about that?
Oh my God, they do.
But she said, you will find that you inspire people, and you're going to help other people who may be wanting to do this or curious about it be able to do the same thing. And sure enough, it's grown. If you look at really early videos, it's just me in my car looking real stressed out, like I'm going to do this. I don't know. And it's evolved. So now it's a lot more about Dominican life and culture, and just it continues to be an expression of my experiences here, what it's like. And it's a lot of fun to do it. So please check it out. Thank you for that.
Definitely look at it. And I'll put it on our page as well in case you forget. So now tell me, any regrets? So, no, I'm not going to say any regrets. Anything about the Dominican you would change?
So that's an interesting question, because there are some things that every now and then I feel like, oh, please, you know, like efficiency or the lack of efficiency sometimes.
Service.
Yeah, you know. But I also, in that same breath, I would say that I have to realize that I'm projecting my values and what I've been accustomed. Yeah, and part of, like, you know, so the whole thing about efficiency, come on, is that, again, we've been programmed to think that things should be like this all the time.
Our way, now, get it done.
And these people have been living like this for many, many years. In many cases, they're much healthier than Americans. They're not dropping dead of heart attacks and this and that.
50.
Right. They're not taking all kinds of prescription medications. I have a woman who, my son had a cold recently, and she got all these leaves, like cherry leaves and limoncillo and all this, and made him a tea.
I've had my tea for bronchitis. I have bronchitis here.
And so, you know, there are things that would be helpful sometimes if it were quicker or there's a different level of understanding. Yes. Would I trade that? I don't want to bring those American ways here, you know. And we go home during the summers, and we do different kinds of visiting, but I'm comfortable. And I'm learning to, you know, just let things be how they are. You know?
And I think that's destiny. It's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're just supposed to enjoy it, appreciate life, and just live. And don't put a lot of pressure on it. The one thing I am working towards is bringing a library to Punta Cana.
Oh, wonderful.
There's no library here, and I am ready. You know, because I miss books. That's the one thing I miss here, is I miss books. So I am doing everything I can. So if you are traveling to the Dominican Republic and you have those leftover books that you've already read on the plane, get in touch with me, because I'm going to start a library.
So English language books?
English language books.
Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind, because as he gets older, I'll donate some children's books for you. Now I know what to do.
I want to open up a library here, and I'm going to try to get sponsors to send me books, you know, and authors that have leftover books to send their books. Now, before we close, everybody, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh,
you
it's
know,
my pleasure.
I appreciate
Thank you.
it. I know I take everybody's time. I'm going to get everybody on this show.
This is good.
But if any advice you want to give to people moving abroad.
Initially, I mentioned it to you when I first decided to move. Some people were like, "What are you doing? You're crazy. You sold your car. What if this doesn't work out?" I said, "It's going to be fine. You can always go home." But then I went back and people were like, "Wow, how did you do it?"
Right.
And
That's
so
always the question.
the absolute first thing is it starts with a decision. Even if you don't know how, just say, "This is what I want to do. Yep, I'm going to figure it out." And then there's so many resources. The internet is available to if you're watching this, you have access to the internet.
Google, move
you
abroad.
just start to look up things, and you'd be surprised how many. Oh, this person knows that person. Oh, my neighbor down the street used to do such and such and such, and they have this information.
Absolutely.
And you just start to plan and think about what would be helpful. So, like, you know, bring a surge protector. Sometimes, I don't know about this town, but in my town, electricity will go out, not for like all day, but maybe 5 minutes. And, you know, if you have a computer or an appliance plugged in, like I bought a washing machine here, you want to protect those things. So surge protector is good. You know, extra chargers for your phone, things like that.
Things like that are expensive here.
Right. Like in my small town, I can't get an Apple charger for my laptop.
Right.
So, and Amazon does deliver, but you know, but if you have a backup, again, I always say manage your expectations.
That's the main thing.
Yeah. Be patient with yourself, with getting accustomed to things. Be patient with other people. Recognize that what you think should be done a certain way is often not going to happen that way.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So.
And, but yeah, as I said, with children, absolutely begin to prepare them for the change.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea.
That's kind of generally what I would say.
To have the conversation. That was the main thing.
Begin to let go of things.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's the main thing.
You don't need all that stuff you have. You know you don't need all them 50 sweaters. You're definitely not going to need them here.
You're not going to need them
You
here.
know?
So just kind of scale it down, you know, and prepare, plan, and not lower your expectations, change your expectations. Yeah. Because you don't have to lower it, because we're not living in poverty. And
oh no, I live quite comfortably.
Right. We all live very comfortable. We're all very happy here. The Dominican is a great place to be. So if you're thinking about moving abroad and Dominican is on your list, go back, watch all of her videos, watch all of our videos, you know, find us on YouTube, and just check it out. Most of the questions are being answered on a regular basis. I know your show airs
I do every Sunday. Sunday morning, 9 a.m. our time. So if you're on the East Coast, depending upon daylight, you know, it's roughly 8, 9 a.m. West Coast, what is that, 6 or 5 a.m.?
Right.
But you have all day Sunday to relax and check it out, for sure.
Right. So be sure to go on to her channel, then Ebony Ladies in the DR. You can check us out every, there's our helicopter tour again. Give it a second. One more second. And if you're here in Punta Cana, check out the helicopter tour. I heard it was really, really expensive, so I haven't done it. But I heard it was a great tour over the island. So that is it for today. I thank you all so much for always tuning in. Ebony Ladies in the DR right here on YouTube.